Hello, and welcome to the Old Farm Bus Podcast. This is the back of the bus session.
Hello and welcome to the Old Farm Bus Back of the Bus Sessions podcast. Today I've got an absolutely wicked guy with me. I've been looking forward to this for ages. We're in similar circles, but we just seem to never cross.
That's the story of my life right there,
Now,
mate. I'm not even kidding.
You got here at about 10, it's
Yep.
11:20, and we're only just starting a podcast. So guys,
Damn.
It's been a whirlwind. We've been on so many different angles already.
It's been a journey already.
A big journey,
yes.
lots of doors to open, but it's going to be amazing. So I'm looking
Yes.
forward to this.
So am I.
Warren Island.
Thank you. You're right. Hello. How we doing?
Having it large.
Sam. Oh.
Dude, you're the first person to make me balls up at the start because I was laughing. We
Oh, man. I can't
already
believe
talking about getting pissed at 13, 14. And I was
50.
like, welcome to the back of the sessions on the bus. The place we are. So, Warren, man, how are you keeping up in this weird and wonderful time? As a musician, it is tricky.
Oh, man. I mean,
you
like,
feeling?
it's a lot to take in. I mean, it was weird in the sense of when lockdown came about because, I don't know, with all the gigs that I was doing and then I'd learnt to drive and I got the car, everything was kind of shaping up. There was an EP coming out and there was festivals lining up left, right and centre. I'd just started Warren and the Islanders and we were moving forwards with that. I'm in Darwin's Rejects as well and we've just started writing stuff. It's literally, and it was just one thing after the other and it got to lockdown and it was just kind of the same time where I was like, if just 5 minutes came up at the minute, I wouldn't say no. I wouldn't be so opposed to it. And then the 5 minutes turned into...
But not 5 years.
Yeah, this is it.
I'm not ready for a 5 years out.
Oh, man. You know, adjust into the live streams.
Be careful what you want and wish for, innit?
Oh, man, this is it. Honest. But no.
God, could I just have 5 minutes? No, stop.
Yeah. Didn't mean it literally. Yeah. Oh, man. No, it was weird in the sense that everything literally overnight just done.
Yeah.
Especially in the sense the music community is just incredible in the sense they put everybody else first before they put themselves first. I know promoters that have literally put their hand in their pocket to make sure that everybody's paid right and sorted out, and they're going home out of pocket and down on it, but it's to make sure, you know, and overnight it's just changed for all of these people. It was just instantaneous. Nobody was expecting it, and because of the people that they are and the people that we are, it was just like, before it kind of changed overnight, people were kind of looking at each other like, do we put gigs on? Do we risk putting an event on? Because this is getting quite serious, this is getting quite big. We don't want to kill somebody's auntie or uncle or grandparent or something, you know, inadvertently. And it was, mid-March when the lockdown was in. I think the last gig officially that was booked in before all of that was the end of February for me, before people started like, no, we're not going to risk it. We're not going to do that.
We put events on here and gigs.
Yeah.
We had a couple in that time, the first lockdown, then we got back to normal and we put a Maith Fest on, a mini Maith, a COVID.
I saw.
And it was absolutely fantastic. Loved it. But we did receive a little bit of backlash, and you're always going to. And we weren't just frivolous with it and didn't have a conversation or anything. Me and Chrissy had a really heart-to-heart on what can we do, what are our parameters, and what needs to be done. Because
this is it. Yeah, I think a lot of people, when lockdown came in, it was just all of a sudden, well, that's it, we can't do anything. And there were so many people just looking at the situation it was and just like, right, there are these hindrances in place, but does this absolutely mean that we can't do anything? And Lorraine at the Pit Micro Pub in Annesley, absolute saint, absolutely amazing promoter and runner of the pub in general. She's an amazing, incredible woman.
Great woman.
And she was just left and right trying to sort out events outside, confined to the rules, in maybe just a general sense of people sitting together, then in tables, and then cooperating with them, just left and right, coming up with trying different ideas. And then she actually managed to get a series of events going. You know, it was really, really incredible in that sense that she looked at it and it was just, okay, we've got these in place that we can't do this, or we can't have this many people in this arrangement, but what can we do? And that's something that I'm not saying that people ignored or wasn't aware of, but it was just something that I think it was too much for some people, and it was just a massive, like I say, overnight the industry changed. We're not just talking about sort of like a little break for whatever reason of there being a ban on music for whatever reason in the surreal terms that would happen. This was literally, I say overnight, maybe 2-3 days, maybe a week, but in a very, very short period.
Yeah, it spiked.
Everything just stopped. Every gig, every booking, rehearsal, just recording sessions were up in the air even, because it was just like, well, can we meet in the studio? Can we work in the studio? Is that going to be okay? And, it was just surreal in the sense that when we were coming up against the hurdles and everything, the people that were pushing through were able to do what they did, but then it was also surreal in the sense of the people that were just backed into a corner, because there was just this massive list of things and circles. And I know the pub runner at the Barrel Drop in Nottingham, I'm good friends with them, Tom Roper and Amy Harrison. I'm not going to get that wrong. And she was explaining to me, like, we've had to fill out these forms, and the pages are like 13 and 15, and you've got to do this, and there's how this is going to have to be laid out, and what you're doing, and how you're taking names, and all of this. Some pubs before lockdown came into play, it was just like a massive struggle for them, because in the position that it was for people, where they were, whether I'm trying to think back to that time. It's just so long ago. so long ago. But yeah, it was difficult for some pubs, and challenges in the sense of like trying to get people in, trying to get business, because maybe it was being quiet, and you would just have winter as well. In December through to February is normally
Game
just
of Thrones, isn't it? The
man, it's dead in that
the
period
White
anyway.
Walkers.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, when all of these people and all of these pubs, managers, just the whole industry, the theatres, tour managers, stagehands, everything, overnight, just having to look at the situation and try and persevere through it, and
completely reposition themselves.
And it's understandable why some people weren't able to do that, because of everything that was put in place, and just the touch and go situation that it was on what we could and couldn't do anyway. Because at one moment it was like, oh, you can do this, and you can meet up into certain arrangements, and then the next thing was like, no, you can't do that. No, not at all. And it's just,
it's been so confusing and such a turbulent
really
time, and I completely agree with that. And it's shown me how vital, though, the industry is, and creativity, and the importance of bringing that to the people in whatever way we can. And it's great that you have them tenacious attitudes and people in the industry.
It is so brilliant
that want us to keep going and want us to find a way.
And it's been surreal in the sense as well, just how together everyone is in the music community, and just the general community, the people that are loving the music. You've got people that are just out and out devoted to just continue some form of music in their life, just listening to the live streams. And then you've got musicians that are just bouncing off of each other, saying, oh, I'm having a bit of a shit day today. How are you feeling? Just that communication and being there for each other. Like Scott Makepeace and me, we've been constantly lovely bloke. Like,
I can see I didn't know you knew each other, but when you mentioned him, I thought, oh, there's some similarities appearing here. Honest. I can feel that.
When
great guy.
In one of your previous podcasts, you've explained and sort of like say, oh, who's your favourite guitarist, or who's the best guitarist, and sort of like I get asked that question sometimes, and Scott often comes into my mind, but then at the same time, like, you can't really just pinpoint one particular guitarist as the best or better than, or but
subjective again.
It is,
in different ways.
But I don't know when it comes to Scott, in the sense of just viewing him as just a normal guitarist. He is.
What does he do? What's his style?
Oh man, what doesn't he do? He's got influences of Floyd in there, but then Sabbath, and then he's got so many different tones of guitar, and his technical ability on playing solos, tapping and strumming, chord structures, songwriting. It's just insane.
Shall we have a little fangirl moment for a minute?
Oh man, honest, I don't mind fangirling about it.
Appreciation Club on here.
Absolutely, 100%.
We could do a whole podcast on that next.
Man, it's just Scott as well writes pretty much just what a lot of people are thinking, and about his own personal experience, which a lot of people can relate to.
Have you collaborated with him yet?
We are working on something. There's like so
Are you allowed
much
to talk of this.
I mean, I can openly talk about the fact that I've got probably 15-16 collabs in total up to It's all in different stages. Like, some people I'm still working out what kind of style we're going to go towards, and then other people I've pretty much, like, we've recorded bits and pieces, they've sent it over to me, it's pretty much finished now.
Because we started out the podcast on, the COVID term and how people have had to adapt, and now you're sort of getting onto them adaptations that you've made and important adaptations. But is collaborations one of the biggest ones for you? Have you just gone hammer and tongue collabs during this lockdown or lockdowns?
It's been a lot over lockdown and then prior to lockdown where I'd say and approach people, because Nottingham's music scene is just absolutely ridiculous. We could literally just sit here all afternoon laying in band after band after band over the years that are current now, that are probably going to form and come out in the next however many years through people that we know and mates that aren't quite there yet but are going to come out. You've had Ben Smith on, Molly Ralph. You had Jared Harding. Yeah, he came in from Electric Bear Studios, mate. They're a good hub of music, and they're located in Mansfield. But this little net of Nottingham and Nottinghamshire in this area, it's insane. There's everything, open. Absolutely everything for anybody. Like punk, trance, drum and bass, trap, rap, just. I don't know if you've got any personal tastes for anything that you want to go out and branch and maybe you haven't heard before, go to Nottingham. Like straight up, there's so many different tastes in Nottingham of many different things.
Where did you start out?
Mansfield.
What's the scene? Is it kicking?
So
live and kicking?
Back then it was my first ever gig was at a place called And Why Not. That was, I think it's Regent Street in Mansfield, next to the Palace Theatre.
How old were you at this point?
I was 18.
First gig 18?
First gig was 18, moved out.
It's a little bit later into the scene, isn't
it? This is it. I mean, I say to people like, I was DJing at 15, but I just had a laptop and I was going around doing virtual DJ, just doing I can mix, look, it's that good. So for 2 or 3 years I was on that vibe, and then I actually sort of 14 I learned how to play the guitar, and then by 16, 17 I could actually play and sing and do a few covers. And I went down there, and that's sort of first James Clark, he noticed and he was like, you're pretty good, keep coming down and keep going on, and that's where one thing just kept going, and now
was it a busy audience with a few heads there?
It was weird in the sense of sort of 1 week it could be absolutely manic, and then the next week you could have 2 or 3 people there.
To your mate.
Yeah, this is it. And
you took him down and gone, mate, this night
is going to be so good. You need to come down.
Packed and everything.
Tumbleweeds are coming through, and it's just mate,
I've done that to my
you.
best mate Jagger. Sorry, brother. I've
done it to a few people. It's going to be so good. It's going to be so good. Now I don't do it anymore because it's just here's what it is. If you want to come, you can come.
He just always says, I could have watched you at home, brother. You could have just sat me down. I could have had a bit of a meal cooked for me, and then you could have performed. But that exact first gig, that was an action-packed one then. Or how was that feeling?
It was kind of a half and half. And it was I don't know, it's really weird in the sense of open mic nights. You can get half of the crowd that really, really like the music, and then the other half of the crowd just really can't be bothered with it. They're just there to be drinking, and that's about it.
No, bloody that's music on while I'm here having my drink. But
that's pretty much it, nailed right there.
Can you remember that feeling, though?
Yes.
Can you remember being on there and thinking, I'm going to do this?
It was crazy surreal in the sense, jumping up and being like, I'm going to sing in front of people, first officially as myself, and covers in my own way or whatever it is. And it was, I don't know whether it was overwhelming or whether it was quite a lot to take in at the time, but sort of I got a general response, and it felt pretty good. And then afterwards it was sort of playing back on my mind and stuff. I'm like, well people were clapping, they must have enjoyed it, so I might keep going with it. I don't know. But it was James that sort of noticed it, and he was pretty you ought to keep coming down because we have these busy weeks, and he was properly sort of pointing me in the direction of, no, keep coming down and come on these
strong
weeks.
Character for you then.
And he was properly sort of have a bit of a joke with me and stuff, but then he was also sort of giving me little tips week in week out, just to
can you remember some of the firsts?
Oh man, the smoking was one of the first ones, because I'm been smoking since I was about 16, 17,
right?
And then 18 he'd realised that within the first week, 2 weeks, I was smoking outside, smoking area, come in, did my set, and then afterwards he's just like, you're going to want to pack that in,
Yeah.
It's not going to do your voice no favours. I'm like, yeah, well, Yeah. Well,
Why do you think he took it upon himself to be a bit of a mentor in these times? Did he just like you, or was he a bit like that as a character?
There was still some incredible musicians that went down, like Sam Jones. That's where I first originally met him. You know, another incredible guitarist, singer-songwriter, vocalist, and you know, with him, he was sort of like giving him a bit of a sort of like elbow. Yeah, you're what I do, but also sort of like I think
grounding.
Oh man, yeah.
How old's Sam? Do you know how old?
He's about the same age as me. You know, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Just took it on himself to be a bit of a philosopher for the musicians around.
I don't know. He was just a general sort of like lovely chap. He still is. I still think he does some open mic.
I think it's great what he decided to do. Just help people that are coming up, giving them a space to perform, but guidance.
Well, this is the thing about the gig scene, though, is the whole sense that there's a lot of people that do that. There's a lot of, like, Joel Fox is somebody that I absolutely love because he's a little, I say little lad, he's about 15, 16, and he's just starting out to write songs, really good songs, as they are anyway. But last year he came to a festival and he was sort of like standing to the side of the stage, seeing how it was all good, how it was all going on. And Dave Drury, who was doing the sound that day, was like, noticed it, kind of like,
looking across.
Oh yeah, you see how this works? You see how this goes together? And before he was kind of like then the stagehand for the rest of the day on that stage. And, you know, I've seen that with another lad called Isaac, who loved Ferocious Dog, was getting into guitar at the same about the time that they were playing around Rock City. But anyway, there was an arrangement that came through that this 12, 13-year-old got to go on Rock City's main stage with Ferocious Dog and then play. And it's just this unilateral thing, if that's the right word. But
it's a lovely bloody word.
It's this consistent factor that's just in the live gig community and that just keeps going on and is concurrent throughout a number of gigs. Kids, other people just generally in the sense of just having a look, be it 30 years old, 50 years old, just having a gander through.
And the ones,
it's so beautiful.
The ones that are negative or ego-driven, they get sniffed out quite quickly. You know, I like to think, and feel it in the Derby scene, the Knot scene, whatever scene I've tend to gone towards and kept steering towards. Every time there's somebody that comes in with that negative attitude or Billy Big Bollocks, let's say, most of the people, because it drowns it out, the 90%, the 95% are so good, so thriving and so focused on their art and helping one another. Anything come through it gets sniffed out very quickly. I feel.
Yeah, I get that as well in the sense.
Or if one of us turn into it for a little bit, they'll go, "Oi, ego check, stop doing that."
Shaman does that with me. You like me and Shaman Ermiger have been sort of like getting on recently quite well. We've done a collab track that's coming out, and we
can't wait. That's three very talented artists together. That is, dude.
Man. Shaman Ermiger is another great guitarist, and he's got such a soulful voice, and the track that we've done is actually really, really good. He's got a ripping solo in it, and it's kind of like we both. I don't normally do rap. When I do rap, it's kind of like
rapping in it.
There's a sing rap for my part, and then he actually raps because he actually used to spit a little bit.
Could I hear this sort of sense?
Oh man,
I don't want to put you on the spot, and you can tell me to bollocks.
Oh man, I have to be in the right frame of mind and everything. And
maybe it'll just come out at random time.
maybe we'll never know. No, Shaman's been an absolute godsend when we've been doing stuff busking before this lockdown came into play.
Of course.
And again, sort of like when I've been just questioning things or whatever, again, just that little elbow, that little bit of, yeah, mate, I think this. And what do you reckon with this? And it's just this this consistent, concurrent thing that just keeps coming back around through each avenue that I keep doing. But then when we do see somebody that's come in, giving it the big, better than you. Or, I'm going to be this and that, and you're all right, I suppose. I'm going to go out for a fag. And those people...
Or just turn up for their slot and bugger off.
Man, they're absolutely terrible
Open
for that.
mic.
I mean, I've done that myself in the sense of there's been some days where I've had 3 or 4 gigs concurrently, and I have to turn up and I spend half an hour, 45 minutes, just... common courtesy, because it's like, look, I don't want you to think I'm just turning up to play my set and then go away.
Yeah, I get ya.
But at the same time, there's been some sets where I've kind of like finished my set, put stuff in a car, taxi, or my car, and then be like, right, gotta go, bye.
There's some courtesies that musicians need to know when they're in, particularly an open mic. You don't know what people's experience are. You don't know if it's their first ever gig, how it is. So, you know, we all need to reflect and be empathic on what our first one was. And if you're talking all the way through it, you're just ignoring it, you're walking past the stage. Man, I'm really, really conscious of how I act in those settings because I want anybody to be as comfortable as possible on there. So,
and Joe, as a gentleman, I don't know whether his actual name is Joe McBagpipes. Probably butchering that in some way, shape or form, but he's a brilliant open mic runner up in Manchester.
Right, hosts it, does he?
Yeah, he hosts it. He hosts the Whiskey Jar, and there's another one that he does. Either way, at the start, he'll literally stand up on a stool and he'll just be like, right, the open mic night is fucking happening now.
Yeah.
You're going to shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
If you don't like it, go elsewhere.
Yes.
And there was somebody that actually complained one time to say, oh, I didn't like the way he spoke to us and spoke to everybody and didn't like him swearing.
No, that's ace.
And the pub actually turned around and supported him. Good. And they were like, this is what was happening on that night. There was posters and everything for that. You were aware of that. And we support him in what he was saying as well. Because
a minute of somebody being real and honest and doing whatever to a crowd...
Man...
As compared or polar to people just being really rude all the way through, you need that clarification and moment for someone to say, listen, this is an artist time now. There's so many places you could be drinking. There's so many places you can go if you've got a chat with a new best friend or whatever. Just bugger off.
And it's because there's so many factors that come into it and play into it as well, though. You've got the people that want to listen to the music actually legitimately, like want to engage and pay attention.
I learn from artists.
Mate, this is it. Ben Mark Smith, right, played one of his new songs, Thanks to the Adventure, for the first time at the Rescue Rooms. And that night, it was just the sort of crowd that was in. They weren't paying attention. They were just talking over what he was playing. And if you've heard that song, it's a really, really good, intimate song. And it's, you know, it's such a story. It's such a journey. And you need to pay attention to it. He gave up halfway through because people were literally just, they wouldn't stop talking. And he was like, I said to him afterwards, I'm like, I'm quite disappointed you stopped playing that. Quite enjoying it. I was trying to pay attention. This is it. And it's just, it ruins the experience for so many more people when you just got that obnoxious sense of it.
It's just not aware of the surroundings. And
I think some people objectively do this. I think they go sit in the middle of the crowd and then they go with all the mates.
I mean, this is very not poetry of me, but I've had a fist fight over this.
Man, I can believe it. Jake Martin is another musician that's gone up to somebody and slapped them for talking for a Gaz Brookfield.
Mine was a bit, and he was very overtly rude, but he just didn't want poetry. And
Jake's a really lovely character, by the way. I'm not saying he's violent. Love you, Jake. Promise.
I'm not proud of these moments. This happened twice. I got one punch in the nose outside in the smoking area Is Immigration Killing the Nation? Going on the premise that we live on a rock, hurtling through infinite space. You know where I'm going with that? Yeah. One guy I met outside and he goes, I didn't like that. Come over to me, bang me one. So then, you know, in my belief at the time, I thought, I'm helping the world, I'm adding to the ether, I'm going to do something good.
It means something. I'm contributing.
I'm contributing. I didn't want to just keep convert or speaking to the converted. I wanted to go places where I thought, bring this one out here, this might be interesting. And I got a punch for it, but afterwards I sighed because I used to be a boxer as well. So not in the Billy Big Bollocks way I used to box, but I know how to take a punch, I know how to punch. So we had some back and forth in. I went home, I think I cried on the way home because I was like so deflated that what I want to do is so far from what happened.
That's it.
But I went through it, I learned. Another time I got not made to go, I love to go to festival, but asked to go to this lovely festival in the lakes. It was right on the lakes. And this guy saw me, promoter, for a festival called the Happiness Festival.
All right.
The irony of it all, Mike Skinner style. So he'd met me at the Happiness Festival and it was 1,000 people there.
Yo.
And he came up to me and said, mate, I want you at my festival. So I went there.
Yeah.
And 99.9% of the crowd loved it and they were getting it, and it was rock and blues and all that, but they had spoken word on early on.
Fair, yeah.
And I was the only spoken word artist.
Okay, yeah.
So I'm performing, and then this one drunk bloke, and it's probably 3 PM. You don't need to be that drunk yet. You've got the whole night ahead of you.
That's it.
And he just comes, sits down, And then 3 minutes in an emotional piece. It's the first one I wrote about a friend that had been killed in a knife crime accident. We know where it's going. Very emotional.
Yeah.
Really quiet. Then as I'm making the point of being quiet, between the gaps, which I think spoken was really important to do, it just goes, boo, boo poetry, we want music, boo. So all the way through, I get a bit more aggressive in my demeanour because I'm delivering it passionately then. I'm talking...
Yeah, using that to your advantage.
Yes.
Playing with it, taking it.
$1,000,000%.
Yes.
So I'm playing with it, and I'm being a bit more passionate.
Yeah.
And then he nearly starts coming a bit further to the stage and confronting, and then I'm staring at him as I'm performing.
Yes.
And I'm giving it some, and everyone's like, is this going to kick off now? Is this going to kick... And I'm not small, I'm a stocky little guy.
Yeah.
And we started confronting, and it got to that level where, is this going to fight? And I just stopped, I walked off, and I did the right thing that time, in my eyes.
That's it.
But it's just rude, and all that amounted to why we have the buses now, really.
Yeah.
I love NPR sessions, I love so far sounds,
Yes.
and where they create an environment that's all about the artist, all about the musicians. And I think that's so important, because the amount of time we spend on our pieces, the amount of effort, the emotion we put into it, it's just, why not respect it? And I got fed up of playing these gigs where there was no respect given, or it could be a few heads in there, but it ruined it for everyone's experience. So I wanted to make 100% experience for people, where you go outside, smoking area, we talk, we have a laugh, it's wicked. We get in here, people are playing, that's it, that's all that happens, and you sit and watch respectfully, or clap at the right time. Makes
what more do you
total
need?
sense.
What more do you need, man? Music does not need to be much harder than that, realistic terms, you know. And it happened to me in the sense where somebody, absolute arsehole, all night, talking through everybody's set because he'd got a woman with him, and they were just being obnoxiously loud, laughing all the way through, and the bloke was actually making comments about people playing all night. And I'm the last on, and he continued it through my set. And there's a song I play called Crazy, and in the back half of that, it's a proper sort of like, I kind of take on what people have objectified about me or thought about me without even speaking to me properly, without even having so much of a conversation, being like, oh, he's a weirdo, him. You might have to avoid him because he's a bit special. Oh, don't want to get in trouble with him, because, you know, when people are making that assumption without having to speak to you, without having any form of communication with you already, it's just like, why? But this guy was just like, same again through me, got to the back end of the song, and I've just sort of like start staring at him. I'm like, yeah, mate. Yeah. Okay. All right, mate. Yeah.
In the devil eyes.
Devil eyes. And then it got to a certain point of the climax. One of my proudest lines I've ever written is, so go ahead and point me out, I'll smile nice and wide. I'd rather be a cast out than a prisoner of my pride.
Wow.
And I stopped playing for all of that, and I literally just looked in deadpan and just went, rather be a cast out than a fucking prisoner of my pride, you dickhead. Literally just carries on, stops, and it's silent for about maybe 10-20 seconds, and everybody's like,
is it going to kick off again?
What's going on? And I'm like, no, I'm cool. I'm sound. I just don't appreciate somebody talking through everybody else's work and everybody, because we spend absolute hours doing what we do, and we're talking, you know, rehearsal times for one song. Some people think, oh, like, they just stick on some chords, go through it once, that's it. Some people spend an hour to 2 hours perfecting a cover. Just one cover. They'll play the once at an open mic night for 3 minutes, 4 minutes. And then you've got all the other covers that go into it. Then all the recording that you do to have a CD, so you sell at the open mics or at the gigs that you do, etc. And when you do the self-production yourself, bit of a double saying the word there. Either way, when you produce yourself, it's just the amount of time is insane. Like, I've got a project that I'm working on for an album that's coming out in about a month.
Here we go. Is this the first time it's been out live?
This is the first time this has actually been announced, because of the way that it is, and not many people are actually going to expect it, because people know by me up to yet guitarist and rock, indie, all of that. That's kind of like what I normally do. And this is drum and bass, because Pendulum was a massive influence when I was like 15, 16.
Exciting.
And I've always had this hankering to make some proper thoroughbred, like drum and bass, hard, heavy, liquid, and some of it, you know, harkens back to that pendulum styles and stuff. But anyway, yeah, with that producing one of the songs, it was a full week of like starting at 3 o'clock in the afternoon all the way through till 9 of doing stuff, and then setting that as my work period, my work day, to do those bits and pieces. And this is the stuff that people don't see. People are like, I've spoken to people at festivals before, just people that, you know, appreciate the music, have listened to me, and they're like, so how long do you spend like sat there sometimes? And I'm like, I don't know, 6 hours, 8 hours. What's the longest you've done? Oh, I'm like 13, 15 hours. And I'm like, have you sat there for that? Yes. This is part of the it's part of the process, man.
Completely agree.
And the thing is, you don't even realise when you're doing it. Either. You just sit down,
lost, immersed in time,
and you go in and you go, yes.
There's no greater feeling.
It's honest. You just get lost, and then all of a sudden you're like, fuck me, where did 7 hours go? What? Wait, what? It literally is as well. You just lose all sense of time, and then the next thing is it's like you trying to assign different things that you had planned because you've gone too far into it. You've got too lost in, you know, it's just the process of it that it is. And then on the other side of it, people are like, well, you're only turning up and playing some songs. You're only doing like an hour. It's fine.
And I think it's important to know it doesn't always have to amount to an aggressive encounter.
No.
The balance side is, I get it for some people. They didn't know they've walked into an open mic environment or what it is. So they're sat there, this music started, it's interrupted their night. So they're thinking, oh, why are they doing this? And they don't understand it. And as artists, we sort of need to grow resilience and calluses around us to appreciate not everywhere's going to get us, not everywhere's going to respect us, and we need to have resilience towards that. But we are just talking now on a genuine level how bloody irritating it is, and just horrible to witness, not even for self, but for others.
This is
we know that process and how hard it can be.
Just for the promoters, the punters themselves, and then the people that are actually playing, that you just want to sit and appreciate in your own right anyway as an artist, just discovering new music. Yeah. When you've got something as a scenario like that, it's just like, you just want to kind of walk up to them in the sense of, please. Just can we like quiet down, or can we just calm it down, or can we just go away? And
the greatest hosts for me people are the ones that see it happening, sniff it out, and then in the next moment they ask them to leave or do something. I've watched hosts, they don't want to cause conflict, which is understandable, and ruin their night, but have just let them sit through it, which has ruined their night. So the best way to do is let the artist finish, come back on and say, excuse me, sir, can you go and sit over there? You're not paying attention, you don't want to be here, just get out of here.
That's it.
And then we're talking through live here. You get it online as well. You know, with a music project, when you've made a film, whatever it is, it's so easy to be a keyboard warrior now, or make a comment and just say something really horrible. And we don't know people's levels of resilience or levels of tenacity, and it could cripple somebody. So when you see somebody has made a film, and we know how long that's taken, the whole process of getting a song recorded, going over to the filmmaking side, if they're self-sufficient and have done it all on their own, this is weeks and weeks and weeks. Months.
Even.
Of making and thinking of things, and for people to just go, oh, it's shit, mate, what's the point of that? You'll pick out something about
it's not even constructive in that sense either.
Doesn't help.
It doesn't.
Just start off with something lovely at least. Go,
this is it.
Oh, dude, I love what you're about, what you're doing. Have you thought of?
In the same sense as well, though, what sometimes gets me is in the sense of artists that are like bigger than better than you. You get them when some artists go for feedback, etc., like I do, and other artists have done. You know, when I'm giving feedback, if there's something I didn't like about a song, like, I'm not straight in there and doing, oh, this is shit, you need to change this. Like, I'll maybe approach it with something that I'm relatable with, or something that I can relate to, and then try and explain it in a way that to somebody as to what I'm getting to, rather than just being like, well, to me personally, this was this and this was this and this was, because it's just like, it's not very helpful just being direct and bossing it and trying to instruct. You want to try and work with somebody, and that's something that
guide.
this is it. And then, you know, I don't even think in guide in a sense, because, you know, again,
I know what you mean. It sounds a bit egotistical, doesn't it?
Again, it
Come with me, Squire.
Yeah, this is it. It's like, I can show you the way.
Yeah.
I have the tricks and the tips and everything, and I'll show you the best ways to do this. No, it's honest.
You don't have to do it in the Stewie Griffin if you don't want, but it's sometimes great if you do.
No, it's fine. Oh man, no. Like I love working with people in the sense, like, for example, with the band, Isaac Walters and Josh that you had on recently,
Yes.
Decade in a Day. They're,
Cool guys.
Josh is the guitarist and Isaac's the drummer, and then we've got Ellie, brilliant saxophonist, and Luke as well. He's keen, little nipper, 18, 19 now. Just
Bro.
first band he's been in, and he's like
Ever?
first ever band he's been in.
Taken to it,
Yeah, really loves it. Like, I think his
like
dad.
a flag to a light.
Oh man, honest, like when you see something so humble in somebody's eyes and you can tell it's genuine, it's like, it's so sort of like heartwarming and like, oh. But his dad was like so thankful, like properly shaking my, thank you, mate, thank you, honestly, thank
Really
you. And it was just
appreciate
like,
this. It's helping him out.
oh, yeah, it really, really was. And, you know, it still is. We're still pushing forwards and everything. But through all of this, I've just been like, look, this is our band. This is not my band.
Yes.
This is not my formations and me telling you how this works out and so on and so forth. You know, when we went in the studio to record Demons and Money, it was like, look, this is the song itself. You're obviously going to put bass, drums, saxophone to it, whatever it is you're going to do to it. I'm not telling you it's got to be in this way or that way. Listen back to it, play something. If it works, it works. We know that it works because it's going to fit into the key, it's going to fit into the time signature and the tempo and the dynamic and everything. If it doesn't, you'll know, or one of us will turn around and just be like, look, maybe change this about, maybe change that about. Jared Harding as well, he does a lot of our band stuff with Electric Bear when we go in there. And even he's sort of like pretty critical on the talking and just saying, if something's not working, like, right, let's just change it like this or change it like that. But he's also got a very keen ear for, say, someone just muttering under their breath again for a harmony. He'll literally stop it and just be like, yes, guess what you're doing in a minute. It's like, oh, no, yes. It's honestly brilliant in that sense, because nobody is taking charge and nobody is taking lead. And nobody's going like, oh, this is my aspect of it, or this is my direction on it, and then somebody else going, well, this is my direction on it. Everybody's working together in this sense, and everybody's just
Collaborative effort.
This is it, to make it a collaborative thing, because I wouldn't be going and putting these songs forwards in the sense as what they are, or the band sense as what they are and how they'll be recorded just by myself. This is going to take Isaac, it's going to take Ellie, it's going to take Luke, it's going to take Josh, it's going to take all of us with all of our efforts and all of our combined thinking to say, right, that doesn't work, that does work. And all of our thoughts over however long a period that it takes to put the album together that we're doing, and through the other things that we're doing, it's just 100% by the ethos as to what work with music and how we work with other people. Same with Darwin's. Darwin's isn't very much sort of like, oh, it's my band and so on and so forth. Russ is brilliant in the sense of sort of like, he comes and approaches everybody and he's like, how do we want to approach this? How do we want to go with this booking? How do we want to approach this set list roast every single time when it comes to a gig, properly out, properly thought?
What if conflicts do arise though? Where do you go?
In
with
what
that?
sense?
If say you have got different ideas when you're throwing it all into the mix,
Okay.
how do you come up with a bit of a leeway or a coming together of that?
I mean, when somebody's coming in with a different idea that I've not taken into consideration, I'll first and foremost want to basically get to an understanding point and get to a point where I can understand what they're saying and understand what they're getting at, be it song idea, be it structure, be it lyrics or whatever it is. And then if it's sort of like starting to work and starting to go in that way, it's sort of like sometimes I look at it and do maybe this is something that I've not taken into consideration. Maybe this could go into and bloom into something that's actually quite beautiful. So let's see where it goes.
Sure.
But then if there's something that comes across and it's like, I don't like it at all, or
Not working.
I'm normally pretty direct in the sense of like, I don't like messing about and beating around the bush. I'm very direct with my intentions in the sense when it comes to music, because it's like, the more time you spend faffing around is the less time you've then got to spend on doing stuff, so and fleshing stuff out, etc.
A collaboration all there, and everybody's listened to and heard.
Yeah, this is
but there's somebody there to take authority if needed and make it in a direction.
If there's, say, in the band sense of a direction for how the song needs to go, and I want to take it one certain way, or Isaac will want to take it a certain way, or Ellie want to do something with the saxophone, for example, like, we'll kind of not debate about it, but we'll talk about it and discuss like the different options, the different sort of like opinions on it, to then come to a general consensus as to sort of like, well, okay, yeah, and like I wouldn't even say that it's sort of like setting or compromise or anything like that. It is literally all of us, like I say, working together and working towards
a genuine conclusion.
Yeah, and this is it. And
something you all definitely want.
Well, this is it, and as well, we're not sort of then just focusing on the end thing as well. Like with Demons, it was bit by bit, rather than just like, right, we want the full song, so what we need, we need to get a guitar, we need to add this, we need to add that. We just did it in stages. And it was a consensus sort of thing as we went through that bit by bit. If there was any point, it was just like, right, let's maybe reverse this back and do this part in 2 takes. And then if one person wanted to do it in 1 take, again, it's just generally discussed. And that's the openness towards the band, and just the non-direction from my side of like, it's my thing.
I think that's what makes the best out of a project, personally.
Totally.
With loads of bands, I've done quite a lot of music videos now. Concrete Rose, Local Healers, Decade and a Day, like you're mentioning.
Pretty Babs as well. They've done some, some brilliant stuff.
A mill, and we've been working on stuff, but when I'm with the artists and musicians, it feels collaborative. They trust me in what I suggest and where I think we could go with it. But if I just shut off and thought, this is what it needs to be, no, you're not filmmakers, don't add in suggestion, we wouldn't get anywhere with it. We wouldn't create a proper wholesome masterpiece that feels a full collaboration has been given. And I've had it in every single dynamic I've worked with Local Healers, with Concrete Rose. They've always added something. We've talked about it, I've shown it them back, and we've gone, that doesn't work, or wow, thank God you mentioned that, because that is such a cool idea. And with creatives, there's always ideas emerging, they're always flowing.
And when it comes, when it comes to creating anything, say for example music, there's an old adage saying it's like 2 ears are better than 1.
Yeah.
And it's very, very much right, because one set of ears is focusing on one set of things at one time and is maybe missing
their sound as well.
Yeah, this is it. And there's some certain things that could be missed: compressions, frequencies, gains, distortions, all of these different things that maybe one person hasn't heard that another person will. And this is my philosophy on sort of like sending it back and forth between like, say, 5 or 6 people when I'm building a track properly, just to say, right, what do you think, what do you think, what do you think, just to get a general guide as I'm slowly building it up. And then everybody's all different opinions, different comments will start sort of like lining up, and then start saying, change this, before it gets to a point where all parties and all sides are like, oh yeah, you might need to change the compression in the mix on this. And that's where it sort of like starts out here on this broad scale of like, these different things that need assigning and doing and stuff, and then slowly
building.
And it gets like that. And I
can't wait to hear this finished
art. Oh man, honest, I've got 6 albums as well at the minute, which is just ridiculous in the sense of I wasn't even objectively thinking, right, 6 albums, here we go. It was a solo album that was getting made, and then it was the Islanders album, which is going to get produced or self stuff, because again, I've got into the production side of things. I've started learning about recording, mixing and mastering and all of that.
You busy boy.
Oh, mate, honest, I've not stopped. But yeah, when it originally started, it was just like, right, solo album, Islanders album, done. And with that, it was like 75 songs was the end goal after I'd done close to 50. And I was just like, I've still got more songs that I can knock out and still do, and all of these different ideas. And then after a certain point, it was just like, again, Pendulum being a big influence when I was like 15, 16, and I've always had that hankering to do something Pendulum, Prodigy styled, Spore as well, and kind of that side of it. So then that got brought into it. There's somebody else that I'm working with, which were kind of mainstream charty sort of stuff, but that's another avenue sort of like for different ideas that I can do with that. Then there's Darwin's, we're sort of like slowly writing stuff, so I can't actually officially confirm that album's happening or not yet, because again, it's not my total project.
The jigsaw, the pieces keep getting laid out.
Yeah, man. I mean, there's the drum and bass album is going to drop next month. I'm hoping by March 1st, March 2nd. If not, it's going to be about mid-March, because that's all 10 songs are pretty much there. I still need to mix and master a number of them and a number of tracks, but yeah, I'm mega excited for that one, because that's probably the closest one that's going to be the biggest boom and going to surprise quite a lot of people. And then again, the Islanders album, solo album, collab album. It's just non-stop. It's just
I really
literally
enjoy meeting people that are so in love with what they do, so passionate
So
about
brilliant.
it, and you can really feel that in your psyche and soul. It means everything to you.
Oh mate, it's 100%.
Was that given to you through time? Had you met people along the way? Had family been very influential about how you've approached this? Why are you so thriving for music?
I don't know. I've got such a hankering for it, and it's like when Demons came forwards as an idea, it was just this sort of like thing where it was just this urge. I was like, I need to write something along the lines of this and sort of like properly go in. And in the grand scale of things is something that I'll refer to a lot and be like, oh, in the grand scale of things. But in the massive...
Like a football player, mate. At the end of the day, mate, at the end of the day, you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, you know what I mean. And at the end of the day, so in the grand scheme of things, like, I'd say in terms of my career, you've got, say, a 100-metre dash or a 100-metre sprint race. And in where I am right now for the past 5 or 6 years, you know, there was a point where I wasn't even writing anything. I was just doing covers and going out and exploring the music industry for what it was and getting just stuck in, seeing how it all worked, seeing what people liked, what people didn't like, you know, what kind of other musicians were out there and stuff. So I did that for about 4 or 5 years before I actually put pen to paper, started sitting down and writing stuff, because I was going and playing at festivals and people were like, you need to write some of your own stuff, because the one or two that you've done already is actually really, really good and we want to hear more. So, but yeah, from, I'd say, a young age, I've always wanted to just follow the music and pursue stuff, and just, I don't know, it was...
Was it performing in general, though?
Well, when I was in school, I did, like, school performances, and I was a bit of a class clown, but I was also a massive attention seeker and a little dweeb.
I can
honestly,
picture you, mate. We would have been mates at school, 100%.
You probably wouldn't. I was a really weird kid.
Okay.
Like, I was the kind that would sit in the corner of the room, like, beatboxing and just making weird sounds, just be like, ooh. And
Sounds
just like,
ace.
no, it was, you know, at that time, I didn't know much about the world. I was very naive. And yeah, it was coming into things, and I knew I wanted to pursue something and get my head around something to properly focus.
Yes.
And at the same time, it was kind of like my dad doing what he did, because he worked on tour for 10 or 15 years. Yeah, he was a lorry driver for like an agency basically, and it's like bit of like name dropping and stuff, but like my first official gig was James Blunt. Like.
Wow.
But yeah, that was surreal, because like we got to sit backstage, all of us, just grab a bit of food, then James walks by and he's like, literally, man, and it's like, apparently this guy offered my dad like drinks of wine before he'd have to drive and stuff, and like, no, I've got to drive, and they'd have a football match on occasions.
Brother,
mate, honest, my dad
living the dream,
mate, he was
doing kicky-ups with James Blunt.
Oh, legit. But as well as that, like, this is where my love for Pendulum came from, because we got to go and meet him in Manchester when he was on tour with them, and then we got like to go on the balcony to watch Pendulum because he got free tickets through doing the job. That was an absolute insane show, probably one of the best shows I've ever seen in my life, because the balcony itself was jumping up and down.
How old would you have been at this point?
15, 16, something like that.
These are real groundbreaking things for young people to experience.
At that point, it was really, really interesting, because you don't really hear about that from other people, let's say, when you go to school. And of course, when I'm going back and I'm like, oh, my dad knows James Blunt, of course, people are like, yeah, all right, mate. All right, fair enough. Yeah, of course he does. And it was like, oh man, I can't really explain it to anybody, because nobody has got that reference point and can understand that sort of like, my dad was, you know, Kenny Rogers, Franz Ferdinand, Dolly Parton, Meatloaf, Slash, fucking just band after band after band. He toured with Prodigy like 4 or 5 times or whatever it was.
You can see why you would have gained this thirst for what you do.
Oh man, well, it was seeing all the work that my dad did, but then the actual deal breaker was going and seeing Keane in Birmingham, because it was like really, really good show, pretty packed, but like sat with him for the most of the night, and then at the end there's just absolute carnage going on. People are taking down this stage, putting stuff into flight cases to push down, and off they go at the back, and then it's just like 4 random guys laughing, joking, walking by as everybody's like running around. I'm like, who are they? Look, it's the band. what are they doing? They're going back to the bus. They're going to get pissed. Go sleep. Probably wake up about 12 o'clock tomorrow. Do it all again. I'm like, I want to do that. It was just plain and simple. Sort of like standing and taking it all in. Yeah, Keane. And like the lead singer of Keane is ridiculously tall. Like at least 6'2", 6'3".
Seriously.
Oh man, he's literally
you got to speak to them, did you?
No, so when they were sound checking, I got to shake hands with the drummer before he'd run off, etc. But quite a lot of the time, we were just sort of like in the background.
Just being in that environment.
Literally,
seeing
like... I think the one time that I properly went out of my way was we went to see Pendulum at Doncaster, and the bassist is walking past, and like Pendulum were my idols at the time, and I'm like, I'm not letting you walk up. Man. So straight up, I've just stuck hand out, and I'm like, you're the bassist, aren't you? Like, and he's, yeah, mate, I'm the bassist. Yeah. He just wonders like,
kid.
Oh man, but no, seeing all of this was just a massive, massive sort of like thing, but. The kind of glitz and the glamour of the side of it is another side of it that I'm not too fond about, because it's just, oh man, when you've got kind of money attached to it and you've got all these different things attached to it, you can get mixed ways, mixed intentions put into it, when it's like one thing that's definitely bugged me over the years was to say sort of like if one of my songs all of a sudden got into a program or whatever and then there was loads of attention on myself for even a week, 2 weeks, I'd hate it, because you wouldn't have to be able to have like 2 minutes, 3 minutes to yourself. And I feel sorry for some of these celebrities, musicians and stuff that have to go through it. Jamie Cullum's got it sussed because in the sense he can still go out and kind of live his life a little bit, but he's not hounded by paparazzi, whereas you get some people that just aren't left alone.
I think it's particularly bad when you've had it from such a young age and you're developing, because when you're a little bit older and you're coming to fame, you're matured in your attitude, you know how to sort of block things out, have a bit of callous behind you. But as soon as you are a young star that has just been blossomed into it, forced through this, as it all starts a mountain, I can see how that can be really detrimental to your mental health.
Oh man, Justin Bieber is a perfect example of somebody at 16 to be given the amount of money he did and the amount of attention that he did is just sort of like, it's going to be looked back at in history as to a psychological example because of the fact of like this 16-year-old was given pretty much free reins on the world and free reins to kind of be what he wanted. Yeah. And, he's done some questionable things through his time, but, it's part and parcel of the character that he's become and what he wanted to become and how he wanted to portray it or however it's gone about. And, when this all comes into the sides of like doing music, or there's some people that strive for this, I don't think some people quite take that into consideration. And when I think about it, it's just like I don't want to be hounded all the time by somebody being like, so what you bought from the shop yesterday? Why you got that?
Yeah, nobody wants that. Yeah. Nobody needs that.
When do you put your bins out, by the way? Anything in there? It's like, go away. Oh, man. No. But no, the striving for music is just something that has grown over time. Is not just my own little mission / thing, because I write about experiences that other people can relate to in the sense of like, I've been the kid that's been told, go away, don't listen to you, I'm not bothered. And I hated that. I hated being the kid that was always told like, don't want you to be included or looked at and opinionated upon for no fault of your own or through some bad decisions that you weren't quite thinking clearly at the time, and it's hard in the sense sometimes you're just thinking I'm so alone, or this is just such a hard, difficult battle that nobody understands. And that was sort of like my inkling to begin with, to try and make a positive impact on just some people, to sort of like say, you're not on your own, you can deal with this in whichever way that you want, and there's people here to help you through that. And as it's grown on, some people have sort of like really latched onto some of the lyrics, some of the words, and it's like insane in the sense, I wrote these in my kitchen and people properly like took it, like, I don't consider it these massive things, but then these are massive implications and the massive impactful things towards people's lives that are properly, going through the stuff they are, and then they hear the words and they connect to it, and it's just, it's surreal.
I was going to go on to lyrics for you, to be honest, because I've been listening in, you've got yourself a good fan here, dude.
Oh, no. Man.
They are very wise, very deep, and quite metaphorical at times. How have you discovered your way of writing, and why do you write in such a way?
Oh man, I mean,
Is there a long journey behind this? And it's a lot of it, I must admit, feels quite mental health based.
yeah, I mean, there's quite a lot of it that is mental health based, like Crazy, for example, is about the whole ideology of people forming a basis of opinion without actually speaking to you, without actually having an interaction with you prior to making that bias of opinion. And again, Demons is very much sort of like a song about combating your own personal demons and sort of like the latchings on that they do and the manipulating that they do in the different ways. And it's like there's certain terminologies that are only relatable to me, like Winter Streets is a terminology only myself and 2 or 3 people will actually understand and get the reference.
What's that, Winter Streets?
Winter Streets and Demons, because the back half of Demons has got quite a little bit of a quick bit, and it's these winter streets will keep teaching me that all I meet won't leave my seat beneath the leaves for all to see and leave it to the thievers, but to take the disbelieving demons, take them from the space I breathe, take them from the things I beat and feed them to the leeches.
Wow.
And there's about half of that which only 2 or 3 people will actually get that reference for. And
but like you say, when you've created something and put it out there for other people, it's theirs then to decipher and be subjective towards. So hearing that, for me, I was creating a story in my head, trying to find meaning, and even if something hasn't even got meaning, it's beautiful to play with and find out. So I love it in your lyrics. You feel this.
And I mean, there's so many people that take so many different things from music in itself anyway, be it my music, be it Mark Smith's music, be it Alex Cavern's music, you know, these are different things for everybody. And the consensus and the general sort of like continuation through all of these is the relatability that everybody has towards them in their own right and in their own experiences and what they're familiar with and what they've experienced in themselves and passing it on, etc. But this is the thing that can be different for you or me in how we perceive my song Demons or Mark Smith's Thanks to the Adventure or Milo Night's Black and Blue. You know, we're talking, for me, Demons being about the anxieties and the depressions and the other latchings on the manipulations for that, and then for somebody else it's about, you know, personal demon through personification of somebody that they've had in the past. And this is the beautiful thing, and I
love the way your mind works.
Man, it's
a real inner workings today.
Man, it's just, I personally love for the fact that people can take what they take from music in the very different ways, and then we come back and speak to each other in the ways that we do, to then just discuss what we're thinking about it, and just again getting more knowledge and more an understanding. And this is the thing, just more knowledge and more an understanding. It's just better in a sense in what my head works out and my way, because if you can't understand something properly, then you know you kind of like submitting yourself to not fully understand the situation and then forming a basis of an opinion on not all of the information available to you that is available to you. And it's kind of a bit ignorant in a sense. Maybe it's a little bit sort of like through neglect or through not willingness and being like, oh no, I'm not going to. No. And you know, it's when it comes to people latching on to these things and translating these words and these phrases and these meanings together to have that more knowledge and understanding, it's just a general sense that comes back to the original whole idea that everybody is in this shit together. When nobody is fighting this battle on their own, and which is why Just Come Talk to Me was written in the sense. Like, you know, you can come and talk to me. A lot of people are like, oh, but you're dead busy, I don't want to disturb you. And I'm like, fuck off, come and talk to me, I don't care. Like, if you want to come and talk to me, please do, because it's just like these mental battles that people have got is just such an important thing for everybody these days, because there's a lot more people that are accepting and coming to terms with the fact of like, holy shit, I am depressed. Holy shit, I am anxious, or I've got anxiety because of this. And they're only, you know, they're putting 2 and 2 together, and then it's an unfamiliarity to them. But again, they're trying to understand it, and this is where, again, links back. Music, start putting 2 and 2 together, and you just sort of like have the relatable experiences through the music in itself, and it's just all this big collaborating thing that then comes forwards. And this is, you know, why I do the music. This is why so many people love the music. And this is why so many people go forwards with the way that they do with the lyrics that they find, be it like Nick Parker. Nick Parker is an insane artist.
Are we going to get onto some of your musical influences?
Oh, man, absolutely. I mean, I've got one of the weirdest musical tastes and influences, because in the morning I can be listening to Arch Enemy and as I lay dying, and then in the afternoon I can be listening to Eminem, and then in the evening I could be listening to Dvorak, and by 2 o'clock in the morning I'm on like electro swing and Caravan Palace. They're an amazing band, I love them. But yeah, the musical influences, like I say, pendulum when I was 15, 16. Then guitar wise, it's just David Gilmour, Steve Vai, Steve Ray Vaughan, Roy Rogers, Ring Malmsteen a little bit, Joe Satriani, Kurt Cameron a little bit, and then on top of that you've got Tommy Emmanuel, Estas Ton, and all of these incredible guitarists. But then through the years I've met some absolutely phenomenal guitarists. Like, they absolutely leaps and bounds above some of these bands, just simple riffs that they do. And that's not to say these simple riffs aren't powerful and aren't great and aren't legendary in themselves, but like when I listen to some of their stuff and then I put them to, say, like Anthony Stark on the Roots level, that's a gentleman that can silence a room just with 6 strings and a guitar, and that's it. Literally, just by 30 seconds in, everybody's like, this guy is actually really, really, really good. And, you know, I'm always been just a sod for good, honest, raw energy music, no matter what it is. You know, I've listened to happy hardcore, and I've listened to rap, and I've listened to grime, I've listened to some trap, and I've listened to just a general mismatch of different things, because feeling good is the main objective of music, and sort of like expression and communication and understanding.
Courses, isn't it?
Yeah,
you pick it for that moment and for that time. Sometimes you just want pure escapism.
This is it, and 100%. You know, you can stay on the same sort of styles of music and still get lost in so many different levels that there are of it, like the levels of trance that there are, like hardcore trance and psychedelic trance. And then you got also drum and bass and liquid drum and bass, hard drum and bass, drum step, and all these different derivatives of it. And it's like you can get properly lost in it for 2 years, 3 years of understanding all of that, or you can then miss a match and go over sort of like all these different genres. And it's like, when I'm listening to Pink Floyd and then I'm listening to all of these different things, like you say, it's just what the moment takes you in that time. Like Milo Night is a perfect sort of like Sunday afternoon. I'm not doing too much, sort of like just going through sort of like dealings for the next week or whatsoever. Milo is perfect for that. Stick him on in the background. You know, I've had that album on, that EP, sorry, about easily 50, 60 times or whatever.
I do really love how supportive you are of all the people.
Man, I literally,
like, all your friends.
Man, it's not even important. Some of them. It's not even for the fact that some of them, like close friends or acquaintances that I've met, and I just 100%
respect them, don't you?
Mate, 100%. And it's just like, you know, you got Tash Bird, you got Ellie Keegan, you got Ben Mark Smith, Sam Jones, Scott Makepeace, Milo Knight, Jake Burns, Jack Chapman. You've still got the Star Bothers. You've still got Ferocious Dog. There's a band called Sea Monster Eyes, right? Sea Monster Eyes were actually ridiculous. It was like a mixture of Pink Floyd meets Led Zeppelin meets loads of different influences. Like, it'd go from kind of heavy rock through to psychedelic rock and then through to like reggae in different stages through the set. It was insane. And the reason I just get so stuck in through so many of them is because, again, the Nottingham music scene and the surrounding scene around, it's just so vibrant. You got Alex Young, for example, Motormouth.
Oh, dude.
Mate, Loot Station artist and a half, and a lyrical genius. Like, was straight up, man.
How I spent most of one of my years was all the Maze days, not Space, but they'd all be coming back to the farm, and we'd have big farm parties, and Kane Ashmore there, half of Unknown Era, Lewis from Concrete Rose, but we'd all constantly be back here, creating, making music, discussions, back to the Maze, seeing how everyone's doing. So the other artists you mentioned here are more my newer discoveries in the Nottingham scene. The Tasha Birds, the Milo Knights, the Ben Mark Smiths. And it's so nice when they start all coming together and you see them all in the same vicinities and places.
The thing is, it's because everybody is so supportive of it. It's like everybody's just kind of got everybody's back in the same regards of the Nottingham music scene. It's such a lovely community of the musicians within that, you know. Alex Cavan, for example, is just another artist that everybody's got so much love for because the bloke's worked his arse off. And I'm not joking, for the past 2-3 years, he's literally been doing 40 hours a week because he originally from South Africa. And he had his wife and his daughter over there for a good while, and he came over here because of the plan on moving over here. And just constantly the government and immigration were just like, well, you need to do this. You need to hold this job for this long. Oh, you need to have this place. You need to have this sorted. You need to have this sorted. Every single time you met and ticked the boxes, they were just straight up, you need to do this now. Yeah, well, you need to do this now. And for 2 long years, 3 long years, however it was, he's just knuckled down, done his hard work. And September last year, he finally got his missus and his little daughter over here, and he's been so happy. And it's like, the second I saw that, I practically exploded on his boat. It's just like, mate, congratulations, well done, because you can tell the amount of work that man has put in.
My sister's a human rights solicitor, so if you needed any more help, I'd be jumping in. But if he's got it, it's all together.
All good, man.
That's nice.
No, he's literally like,
we'll have that government.
Yeah. No, man, like, yeah, Alex Cavan and all the artists within Nottingham that I come across, like Jack Sevier, Shaman Ergener, and Motormouth, Kane Ashmore.
Now this is a important question for you though, because you're so musically influenced. It's your driving force. This is your heart. Yeah. You can really sense it. What about the other sides of your life though, with the parenting and your escapisms?
Yeah.
Genuinely, how do you find time? Because it is important to balance it.
It is 100%.
Have you never tipped the scale too far and just gone music, and then oh dear?
100%. There was a time where Darwin's was literally week in, week out doing stuff. I was doing solo gigs, and as well as that, there was
I'm
a couple
gonna make it, baby.
Oh man, it wasn't even for the case of just sort of like trying to get out there as much as possible to get my name about or anything. It was just the gigs that they were and the work that was coming in. It was just like, I wasn't discontent with any of it. It was pretty chill, pretty happy, pretty, but yeah, lost my train of thought.
Mine was just saying, how do you balance it all? How do you piece it all together?
Well, when it comes to basically at a certain point with Darwin's and with the gigs that they were happening as they were happening, it was just sort of like just full on, because I felt like I could just keep going with it. And it got to a certain point where I was just sort of like not eating properly, wasn't sleeping properly, because it was just a constant like, right, I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do this. And it's not a basis of sort of like, oh, well, I need to do this because I need to pass it off and so on and so forth. Everything that I'm doing is always for a reason, and has always got a structured purpose for doing it, in the sense of like recording, promoting, pushing something or anything like that. And at that point, it was literally just a case of go out, gig, get back, do some more writing, structure out the next week, whatsoever, rinse, repeat. And it got to the point where it was like, I was feeling sick and I was just tired all the time. And it got to a point where I was like saying to my missus, I'm like, I got to sort of like do something here, because this is just, I keep going at this, I'm going to burn myself out. And there was about 50 other people around me at the same time being like, you need to slow down because you're going to burn yourself out.
It's great you can look at yourself from the narrative.
100%. A lot of people's opinions that are close to me are very, very important to me, like Russ. I absolutely adore that man, and his partner Michelle and Tony and Trudy Purdy. They've openly said to me on a number of times when sort of like they thought, just have a break, for fuck's sakes, just take 5-10 minutes, please, Warren, please. You know, and it's brilliant in the sense that people do that, because then it makes me aware of stuff that I'm not catching, because I'm just, my head's in the game and it's just 100%.
They care about you.
Yeah, this is it, and it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Like, I can't even still comprehend that it was 2019 when I did a bad and I played a really interesting set from my side. Apparently from the audience's side it was really, really good and it was a sound set, but from my side I was just like not happy because stuff kept going wrong. And like, people can walk off after a set like really, really good, but you know when you've made mistakes and you know how it's supposed to have gone, and it's like
self-awareness and reflective of it.
Yeah, well, oh man, I threw my guitar to the side after I unplugged it. I snapped the headstock
in front of everyone.
Yeah, pretty much. It was pretty rock and roll apparently.
Yes,
like stuck my fingers up to the kit and everything and walked off, and then like got up the next morning to play my guitar and it was all horribly out of tune. Gone to tune it, I'm like, there was a massive crack through that. Oh dear, that's great.
And did it all start flooding back what you'd done? Do you remember?
Pretty much.
Oh yeah,
man.
you've got an ordeal now. You've got something to deal with.
Yeah, man. So, that was a very interesting gig, to say the least. So I had to keep borrowing guitars after that point because I was down a guitar. And it got to August. Russ and Michelle and Tony and Trudy all sat together at one point. They were just like, look, this guy is going for a bit of shit recently and he's having to sort some stuff out. So let's, maybe get something together, get something going. So we can get him another guitar, get him some other bits and pieces. Whatever's left goes towards his car or lessons or whatever. And it was ridiculous in the sense within 24 hours, the money for the guitar and another loop station had been raised. And then all the money that was left after that for the next week or however long it came through, that pretty much paid for an intensive 30-hour intensive driving course.
Dude,
it was insane, and it was just like
people
totally
love you.
mate, the same community, right, have just out and out stepped forwards on a number of occasions with artists that have just been down on their luck and not had the best of situations handed to them, like Jake Martin last year, bless him. Of all the artists that could have had a really, really difficult year, Jake Martin is one of the ones that had a really, really shit 2020 because his car broke down, and then his Mac broke, and then there was other things that went off, and then lockdown happened, and it was just like he also had to move from where he was. It was just one thing after the other, and it was just ruthless towards the guy.
Did he have a bit of a help me, GoFund me out?
Yeah, it was just insane, again, in the sense of how able and ready everyone was just like, right, when you step forward, it's fine, we've got this, we're going to support him, we're going to help him out.
Particularly in the Knots community. I remember when everyone sent Motormouth over to Italy.
Yes,
he had his opportunity. Good one. Do you know Herbie? He's a filmmaker.
The name rings a bell.
Herbie Rowley, really awesome filmmaker as well.
Yeah.
And again, he'd gone travelling with his partner just for a bit of time away, but while they went to the toilet, in 3 minutes, they must have been followed around, but somebody parked up, gone to the toilet, smashed his van, camper, that had been out for a few months in, and took all his film gear, MacBook. The worst thing for him, it was later on in their travels, and it was all the SD cards. For months and months of travelling, and this guy took all the SD cards. So that's the pain. But again, he put it back home. It caught wind in Knots, and within probably a day, it got a new MacBook, it got a new camera, everything back to normal. He didn't have to stop. And it is, people respect
are amazing.
What artists are doing and how good they are and how important it is for those sort of things to prevail. So I love it when communities come
it's so brilliant.
Deliver that.
And like I say,
you had it happen.
I still can't comprehend it though. It's
beautiful.
still so amazing that it did happen, in the sense that sort of like there's so many people that were willing to step forward and be like, you know what, he has had a bit of shit happen to him recently, so I'm going to put my hand in my pocket. And it's only the same as when it's been approached to me, it's been like so-and-so's down on their luck and they just need a bit of something. A $5 from myself is something that I can afford and do, and it's like, it's not going to break my bank, and I'm comfortable doing that, and it's going to more than happily go towards the part and make a good difference. But then when there's like 100 people that just chip in that $5, it makes that difference, and all of a sudden you've got a decent chunk of change for somebody to help him in whatever it is that they're doing.
And it goes directly towards that person and help him.
I remember getting told, and I was just, it took me about 2 or 3 days to comprehend and actually process what had happened, and then I spent about a week crying and just like literally moved
Why
to
is everyone so lovely?
Literally, I was I think it was in a tent at a festival that I was at, where I'd actually had like the first 5 or 10 minutes after this whole overwhelming thing happened. And it was the first 5 or 10 minutes to just sit down and appreciate and take everything in. And I started welling up and started bawling, reading all of these comments that people have put up and doing, mate, so worth it, brilliant, absolutely fantastic, well done for putting all of this together. And I'm just like, honest, it was, even my missus was like, you crying? No, I'm not. Honest. And it's incredible that was done for me, and it's incredible that there's so many people that still do that now and that have done that, and there's just
I mean, let's deviate as well though, because we were getting towards that point as when it is all music and you do need escapisms. Do you have any in your life? Because I know when I've oversaturated music or my creative flares just started dimming, I've found, filmmaking helps, but then total escapisms. I've got into gaming again.
Yes,
I've got into
100%.
film. I've got into different avenues that as a kid I remembered I really liked and just stopped doing. And the moment you discover them again, it's quite important to your artistry, really. It's quite important to creation.
You've got to have moderation in whatever it is that you do.
Balance.
And especially when it comes to production and music production and film production and all of that, you've still got to have that moderation in there in some way, shape or form. And it's
because you always think when I've stopped doing a musical project, it's all right because I'm doing a film project, but you're still using your mind, you're still creating, and you're not really giving yourself a true escapism. No. But where you can just really lay back, go for a walk with family, play Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, this is it.
Do you have those times?
There was a point where a lot of people found it really weird in the sense, but I don't know why it was weird because a lot of people do it, but I'd just go for a walk. And sometimes I'd literally just be stood in the kitchen after doing whatever it is I'm doing. I've got the time to do just a bit of breathing, a bit of relaxing. It's just like, I'm going for a walk. I don't care. And sometimes just an hour, 2 hours going and walking down trails and paths and stuff and coming back. And there was one time I went about, let's say, 5 or 10 miles somewhere, just literally walked somewhere. I was just like, I better go home. Just turn around and walk straight back. And it was just, it's taking in the sights, and it's like, it's wonderful that, you can do that. Some other people are properly stressing out and stuff like that. It's like, I think some people don't take that appreciation and just take that time to just slow down and just...
That'd be my first advice to any artist getting into the game.
Just take the time and appreciate time. Exactly.
Beautiful attitude.
It's kind of like connoisseuring and just like wine tasting. You don't rush it down and get it all gone. You just like...
You're burned back though for when you go and write again or when you go and create again, you've got a burn there because you've given yourself a release. You've got something to write about as well. You had 100%. An experience, and we don't value that just walking somewhere new is an experience and can be documented.
I used to do it so much on the premise that you never know what you'll encounter when you're out on an adventure, especially an unexpected adventure as well, where you just... You know what, I'm going to go out, see what I discover in the next half an hour. There was one time when I got the car before lockdown and I go come in, it was like 4 o'clock in the morning. And I'd done producing and wasn't ready to go to sleep yet. And it was just like, I'm just going to have a venture, have a trek. And I went to Sherwood Forest, Sherwood Pines. It's next to Oak Tree Lanes Estate kind of area. And up there, there's trails that go through for however many miles. And I'd literally just been walking 5 minutes and out of nowhere, just whomp, deer. Full-blown deer. Literally full-blown grown. And I'm like almost dying. And it's kind of like taking one look at me, turned and just darted. And I'm like, that's an absolutely amazing thing to happen. It's such a beautiful thing to happen. And as well, it's sort of like, kind of makes me feel alive because it scared me, something that big all of a sudden from nothing to whomp, deer, bam, done.
I remember a very similar thing, and this is quite powerful and real story. I'd been in my strange phase, so my mental health was rocky. And I just decided it was 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning on a Wednesday or something like that. It wasn't a party day. But I'd been creating a little bit. I just couldn't sleep, and I'd been on my own. So I went for a walk down the street, and as I get to where the pub is, there's a guy sat down, and it's really late. So me being me, I just approached him. I just thought, you know what, I'm going to go and chat, see what he's been up to. But he was really sad and he was really down on his luck and depressed. So we just sat together. I think I probably had some greenery with me. Sat with him, give him a bit. And we sat till the sunrise for hours of just talking. And I was saying, I'm feeling this way at the minute. He was explaining he just broke up with his partner, didn't know where to go, feeling suicidal. If I hadn't took that walk, I don't know what the case would be, but it felt one of those really powerful what if moments. And we had a massive hug out. I still speak to him now. And it was beautiful. And I just decided to get out that one night that I'd never do that. I'd always think, try and go to sleep, watch something naff. No, I went for a walk and it was powerful.
And this is it. And this just reminds you on the occasions when you think about it in the next time or in the future and you just you think back and actually that time where I did go.
Have you ever listened to The Streets?
I've not.
There's a song called...
man.
Oh, dude, I'll send it you later.
Please do.
As you like all musical influences.
Yes,
but there's
absolutely,
one song
man.
called On Cliff's Edge.
Right.
And it's very much... I listened to that song probably a year later.
Yeah.
And I started tearing up and crying because I'd not heard it. And I'd listened to All the Streets, man. All the Streets.
Oh.
But that song, I don't know, it just slipped my gaze.
Yeah.
And when I'd heard it, it really took me back to sitting on that wall with that fella. And I thought, oh, that's... powerful things can happen when you put yourself out there.
It is, and the thing is, you've got to be kind of like overcoming of that fear and anxiety in those situations, because a lot of people, yes, and there's a lot of people these days though that feel too anxious and feel like they can't approach people. How many people do you see on the bus nowadays that are just sort of like looking down? Some of them not even on their phone and they're just looking around and stuff, and it's like, you know, it's not to automatically say that anybody gets on a bus and they just automatically start, so how are you? Yes, good. Well, I'm off. You know, you don't need that, but in the same sense, like, there's a lot of
just
people
being wise to people.
This is it.
And knowing what they want. You can speak and, can I come and sit with you, mate? How are you feeling? Nah, fuck off, mate, I don't need you. All right, I'll go off. And he said, do what you want, mate, come sit down. Lit up with him, and then we're having this really esoteric and beautiful philosophical chat that would have never been had. Put yourself out there, guys.
Definitely,
do it.
100%, man. Like, I've had a number of good conversations, like sat on a bus and then a stranger's come up and sat with me and just started talking about random things and stuff. Like, I've had some interesting conversations, most definitely. But yeah, there's been some interesting, really wise and inspiring. And you know, there was one when I was like 15, 16, coming home from school, and there was an older woman who was explaining to me about like this black eye that she'd got, and she got it from a load of kids and etc. So we kind of like had a bit of a heart to heart and just a really connectful conversation at the time about sort of like the perception of age and sort of how, you know, just kids perceive the older generation at that time in that area, etc., and how they don't understand that one day they'll be that age. You know, the roles are reversed then, and that's how it works. And these are the really, really interesting, inspiring conversations that I feel some people miss out on, because...
And they probably really need that.
They really do,
just
because...
to be listened to and understood.
Again, it's that relatability that it comes back to, that understanding from people.
Is there a song about that woman anywhere?
There's stuff maybe sort of like...
Ideas.
There's stuff circulating, and there's a lot that's on the horizon for what's coming out, and I don't like to say too much because I don't like to drop myself into something and then have to backpedal and be like, oh well actually I wanted to do this but I couldn't. So I've learned that lesson very much, but yeah, with the stuff that is coming out, there's a whole host of different topics and subjects and things.
That was
on
a
the
big
cards.
lesson for me, what you just mentioned then, was just trying to take on in my early days everything and just say yes, which can be great, but I think it even happens in the film Yes Man. He just takes on everything and it goes a bit corrupt for him. So it is picking and choosing.
It is.
I've let so many people down, and you become this unreliability that people can't trust then, and you don't want that ever.
No, it was like I worked with a guy for a little bit, doing busking and going out and doing some shows with a guy called Peter Lindley, and he had the heart in the right place and he was absolutely fully devoted to things, and then after a little bit we just went separate ways because we both wanted separate things and different things to be achieving. But through him just appearing one day at 6 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday after we'd been gigging the day before, and I had no idea about this, just to knock on my door, and it's like my missus has opened the door and, what do you want? Come tomorrow, we're going busking.
Nice.
I'm like still passed out, just about, what? You what? He's like, we're going busking, we're going to a car boot, and I'm like, okay. Busking at a car boot. And at first I'm like, why? What are we allowed to? Do we need to ring up? Do we need to clarify and everything? And then just for some reason in my mind, I just went, you know what?
Do it.
All right, mate.
Do it.
Give me 10 minutes. I'll be out. And we literally went, and it was one of the best days of work that we'd done. And it was like a good inclination from me and a good thing I'd taken from working with him, that, you know, saying yes to some things that you normally
Opens
sometimes wouldn't. And it does. It opens so many doors in your mind and then in opportunities themselves.
The
as well,
unbelievable amount of musicians that come sit on here and say, if I hadn't have taken that opportunity. So it is just the grabbers in life, and
this is it.
Making opportunities and taking them when they're presented.
It's literally living a little, you know, as the saying goes, live a little and just take that risk, you know. Sometimes you'll get burned on taking a risk, but that's part of the life experience to then grow. And, you know, it's like you say, picking the right ones to get burnt on. If you pick the wrong one to get burnt on, and then it's going to come back and implicate you in much the wrong way. But
pennies dropped for me, mate. You should have a podcast.
No,
you are. You've got a lovely way about you and very good mind.
Well, it's just through
particularly
seeing
in music scene as well.
It's just experience, man. It's not even just being like, I'm almighty and wise because I've seen the things. It's just through experiencing other people's pains and pains myself.
And wise people that listen to it will handpick the bits that work for them. You don't have to be right for everything. No, it doesn't. Just give an experience, and it can come in.
It comes in very many varying ways as well. 100% of like can be the least expecting thing you can come across. You know, be it a wedding, be it a different booking that you'll never imagine yourself taking, but it's put out towards you, and you go, all right, actually, yeah, I will do it. You know, picking those right moments of doing that. It was like Chris Roots, Barlow. He was doing A Up Me Duck in 2017.
Yeah, I know it.
And he'd got a slot for somebody to just go and help out, run the stage, and then do an open mic slot. And I was umming and ahhing about it at the time, but believe it or not, if I'd not taken that opportunity and gone, it was just from that festival itself. I met Russ and a few other people. Russ, when me, created Darwin's, and then I've met other people through that.
Spirals, doesn't it?
It all spirals from that point. And every time I see Chris, a number of times I've been like, mate, you don't understand what you've done for me in the sense of what the opportunities you've given for me already just off of doing that. And it's a beautiful.
Can't believe I've not had him on the podcast yet.
Mate, he's an incredible guy getting down.
Really, doesn't it?
Yeah, he does. He's
been quite supportive. He's seen some of the acts on and said some good things.
He has, and he's got the right art about it as well. He's really put his neck down and sort of like worked his way through it, and just been an absolute rock for a number of musicians.
I'll be in touch, brother.
Yes, straight up, man. You want to be.
Warren,
yes.
I do know at this point I've got to play dad today. Chris is on a mission. I told her a certain time. I didn't realise you'd be this cool to talk to.
No, man, honest. It's cool. It's cool, man.
We're an hour in already before starting the podcast. An hour and a bit.
I know.
I could have gone on forever.
You're so nice to talk to, man.
It really is a pleasure.
No, it's cool.
I want you back.
Yes, absolutely.
I want you to start your podcast.
Oh, man.
Or you could do it the Warren Island and just have everyone come to this island for a podcast, you know? You got to buy an island first, though, but I can see it.
might take some effort and everything.
When there's a will, there's a way, like we say.
Straight up, man, like, legit. But no, cheers very much for having me down.
A genuine blessing. I'm going to look forward to editing all this back.
We haven't even touched upon any of the science stuff that we were going to go.
That's why you're coming back.
Spoonie, I tried. I promise you, Spoonie next
time.
What
about bring Spoonie on?
If Spoonie is up for that, I am 100% down to bring him, because we can have some mad conversations.
Warren's got a really cool mate called Spoonie that I hope has heard this, but he's going to come on and he's going to listen and talk science.
It literally is, because like Spoonie is the kind of guy that is an absolute wonderful bundle of life, and at that, like, the guy he's insanely smart. He's got his bachelor's in physics, for God's sake.
There you go.
Like,
I've not had anyone of that accord on yet.
Like, he's talked to me a number of times about nuclear fission and nuclear fusion, and then like the Hawking radiation of black holes and how they function. And it's like, I've been sat up with him at 2:00 in the morning, like, Spoon, please, I can't even anymore. I don't know what existence and reality is. Can we just have 5 minutes? And then he's like, so then those radiation waves start coming through and they start doing the and it's like...
Do you think it was best that we waited for Spoonie, though? Because if we started doing a hash job of it...
Yeah, I didn't want to say anything and get my foot in it and too wrong and stuff, but
so there's something about vibrations and it'll bond together.
Oh, man, we've had a number of conversations, and he's an absolute bundle of joy.
100%. You're our Elon Musk for the day.
He's a bit on the fence with Elon Musk.
Okay,
he says he's a very clever man, but he's surrounded by even cleverer people and even really geniuses.
You've got to have a face for that, I suppose.
Straight up, man. Yeah, but no, man.
Tell people where they can find you and see all your stuff.
Oh, man. So you've got Warren Island on Spotify, and then on YouTube it's Wim Entertainment or Music. On Facebook it's Warren Island UK, as is. Aside from that, keep eyes peeled, because within the next month I'll announce the pseudonym for the drum and bass album when that comes out and stuff.
My brother.
And yeah, like there is absolutely just boatloads of content coming that I'm keeping under wraps and loads of people are excited for, but it is well worth the wait.
And it is well worth a listen, I can promise you. I've been listening.
Man.
You've had
yourself a
fan.
peek.
I've
Yes,
been
man.
hearing you out, brother.
Yes.
Guys, thank you so much for
Cheers,
being a
guys.
part of the Old Farm Bus Back at the Bus Sessions podcast. Remember what we say. Be nice. One love.
One love, guys. Appreciate it.